Hey, as I scratch my head because I'm old and tired, what do you have, and I have, to learn from the America's Cup and the SailGP, and what the heck is that? What are they? I should say. SailGP is a new racing format in the ocean. Not inland racing on lakes or anything. But if you know what the America's Cup is, the America's Cup is about every 4 years. It's a sailboat race, and it's all about innovation. And when the United States had the America's Cup in San Francisco, Oracle, Larry, I would say Larry Wilson, but that's not right. Who's Larry? Why can I suddenly not think of Larry's name? The guy that owns Oracle. Somebody will think of it. If you can tell me what Larry Ellison, not Wilson, Ellison, Larry Ellison runs Oracle. He's a big sponsor of the America's Cup race, and his team won and was the challenger for a while, blah, blah, blah. But the America's Cup has always been about bleeding edge technology. So, one of the people that I've talked to for a long time, and if you're here, happen to comment, that would be great, so I know who's here. A gentleman by the name of Tom. God, I can't. Names are not working tonight. Tom Matson taught me something, and I have it on a post-it note over there that says, how does this apply to me? And I've heard other people say it, but Tom really drilled it into me, and I've started really paying attention to it. So I was watching this morning. The SailGP is a race that's in boats that are very similar to the last America's Cup. And Russell Coots, who was working with Larry Ellison on the America's Cup, they came up with a scheme or a plan where they were going to do racing every year instead of this every 4 years thing or 3 years that the America's Cup cycle is. And so what they decided to do was, instead of doing all the technology bits and trying to figure out which boat is better and which style of boat is better, what they did was they came up with this thing called the SailGP. And the SailGP has six teams, and they all have the same boat. It's much kind of like, not NASCAR, but stock car racing, where you had to have stock cars, right? And you could modify them some. But the SailGP is interesting because every boat in the race, all six of them, are identical. They're built identically. They have the same sails, same wing, and all that kind of stuff. And so what it comes down to in the SailGP, as compared to the America's Cup, is it's all about the sailors and how skilled they are and how the team works together in order to get the boats around the race course. And they're all racing at the same time, whereas the America's Cup traditionally is two boats at a time. So it's match racing, one-on-one. And SailGP is this team, or a flotilla, if you want to call it, of sailboats. So this morning, all of that just to get you kind of up to speed. This morning I was watching a video that I'd seen before, and so it was kind of a repeat. But I've become a fan of SailGP because I think it's rather fascinating how they can all have the same boats, and it turns out to be all about the team and the team effort. And so the America's Cup is coming up. SailGP is actually doing a yearly series now, which I think is awesome. So they're doing races every couple of months. The next one will be in February. If you're interested at all, ping me in the comments and tell me you've watched any. I think it's really cool. They're really fast. I mean, they're going like 50, 60 miles an hour, right? It's crazy fast. But so stretching that forwards to what I do, I take Tom's "how does this apply to me" quote, and I actually think about those kind of things. And this morning I came up with this idea. So for those of you who know, I do contests, sweepstakes. Those are my thing in order to build your email list. And your email list is your number one asset in your business, so why not build it quickly with people that are interested in what you have to do? And so I was watching this video about these boats. They're all the same. Kind of distracted, but it turned in to be a fairly good thing because I came up with the idea of getting everybody in the group that happens to be running a contest this October. It's October now. Maybe what we should do is work together to come up with really fun contest amongst the contesters to see who could have the best contest in the month of October. So I say all of that because it is something that I think is, I am blessed that Tom really forced this on me to make me think about it so much. I was also on a group call today, and sometimes when you're in a group call, the other people are talking and you're like, oh no, this doesn't apply to me. But if you sit down and think about what they're talking about, and A, try to help them if you can, or B, if you're not the one designated to be the helper, at least sit there and pay attention so that you can maybe kind of take what they're saying and what they're learning to heart and apply it to yourself. And I did that this afternoon with the call because the young lady who went first was talking about all kinds of stuff that directly apply to what I'm doing. So, all that to be said, if you're still with me, again, it does help if you comment, and people will see that. Facebook will spread it. And if this message is resonating with you at all, the message is think about other things. I mean, the idea of running these contests together, and we're not actually going to coordinate or anything, but we're going to come up with a way of having some fun, kind of gamifying the process, and work together, learn from each other, and have some fun while we're doing it, which is going to do what? It's going to build each other up. So some of the people that use UpFire or other contest tools will be kind of helping each other. What a concept. I think that's really bizarre. So anyway, from watching the America's Cup to thinking about SailGP, I came up with an idea this morning, and I think it's pretty cool, and we're going to see how well that works. So, the message of the day, if you're still with me again, is, where'd it go? How does this apply to me? Take whatever you're doing that's not you. If you're watching something, again, I happen to be watching sports. And I tried to figure out a way that would apply to what we're doing in the contest world. And I came up with an idea, and it was brilliant. I think it's brilliant. I posted it in the UpFire group this morning, and I think there's 6 or 8 people that have already said, hey, that sounds like fun. I'd like to do that. What do you think? If anybody's out there watching? Hey, Frank. Thanks, Frank. Frank says, I am here. Your life has meaning. Of course, my life has meaning. Thank you. I don't always apply it, but thank you. My life does have meaning, and so does yours, Frank. Despite the discussions we have with some people out there about politics, and we're not going to get into that here, their lives have meaning too, even if they're not using their brain all the way that they should be. And it was actually interesting, speaking of that this afternoon. One of the people that I was having a conversation with actually said, hey, Mitch, you actually have a good idea. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Instead of arguing back and forth about how stupid you are and how stupid you are, we actually had a little bit of a conversation that was actually decent. I'm like, if more people would treat each other as humans, and I mean, it used to be when I first started doing email and business and way back in Boeing days, my wife and I talked a lot about email, and we said, look, email is kind of impersonal. And she said to me, write your emails as if you're standing in front of somebody. If you get angry with them, you're not going to yell and scream and call them nasty names. You are more likely, when you're in front of them, to tone yourself down. Now, some people get mad and angry and yell and scream, but that's okay. But you're more than likely, and my personality is that I'm not typically going to yell at somebody. I'm going to tone it down. And if you think of them as they got an opinion, and they might be right, they might be wrong, they have their own truth versus what you believe, that's okay. Let's treat each other nicely, and guess what? We'll get along better in the world. We can't always agree on everything, but we certainly can compromise. And again, I didn't intend to turn this into anything political. It's not political. It's about finding ways to work together and to make things better for everybody. I know in the photography, video blogging business, Troy, I'm not going to even, I'll put that up there. It's funny. They are idiots. It's not. No. Granted, you put in the smiley or the winky face. No. We don't call other people names. I mean, that's one of the things that absolutely slays me about the internet world, whether it's politics or science or religion or whatever. We are so quick to call each other nasty names as adults. And yet, what do we teach our kids, hopefully, when they go to school? Don't teach each other don't call each other nasty names. Don't bully each other. Treat each other nicely. And then we get on the internet, we do the exact opposite. So, anyway. So my lesson of the day, if you missed it, was, hey, think of something when you're looking at somebody else. Thanks, Troy. I just want to let you know I was on. I appreciate you, Troy. And I appreciate Frank. Because, if you've ever done Facebook Lives and nobody comments or nobody shows up, you feel kind of like, oh. I mean, it's bad enough that I am talking without somebody else beside me or via Zoom or something where there's a two-way conversation. But when you're trying to talk to the people out there and nobody's giving you feedback, it kind of gets a little stressful. I have too much stress already. So thank you, Troy. Thank you for popping in. Have either of you, Frank or Troy, or anybody else that's watching later, if you're preparing to run a contest in October, and you hadn't watched the previous part, the beginning of this, my idea for the month of October is to have a contest of contests to get people to work together and to build contests that work with the ultimate goal of trying to beat the heck out of each other. Now, interestingly, if you're here and paying attention, the real question is, okay, so if you get two different people running a contest and you're going to make a contest to see which one is better, what's the definition of better? And the first rule is it's not about the total number of leads that you gather. It's not about that number. So what other number, if you're out there thinking, what other statistic could you use? And I have several in mind, but I want to see what you guys think if you're thinking about it. Frank says, once again, I saw no notice of this broadcast. I was cruising and came across it. I don't know. Facebook is fun. it at least showed it to you. Maybe it didn't notify you, but at least put it in your feed so that as you're flicking by and you see this mug, you went, oh, Mitch is on, and I bet he's talking about something very interesting, so you stopped and listened. So thank you. Troy says, I used to live in Newport, Rhode Island, and the America's Cup was bigly. That's very true. Went back in the olden days, before all of this, Australia winning and New Zealand winning and the United States winning it back and going to San Diego and all these different places. Used to be in Rhode Island, didn't it? It's very cool. Troy says, I will not be running one in October. All right. You're out. Sorry, Troy. But what would be a good statistic to compare Contest A versus Contest B? And sorry, Frank, there's this delay. And so when you say that like it's a good thing, I have no idea what you're referring to because you're saying that long after I said something. And that's the timing problem of Facebook Live. So I don't have really a reference to understand what that's a reference to. And I gotta find a keyboard shortcut to make those things go away.
Oh boy!
Because I have the sounds. And this is one of my favorites, by the way.
Dad, you're always right.
When my daughters say, Dad, you're always right. I like that. Frank says that Facebook showed me your stream. Let's not talk about that. You say that like it's a good... We're talking about Facebook live stream, not any other kind of stream, Frank. I know you like to make jokes out of everything. Troy says in the 80s. That's how far back the America's Cup was in Rhode Island. Newport. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? I graduated high school in 75. That was way back before the internet. We didn't even know what the internet was. Back in those days, 1980s, my stars, computers were the size of rooms. I'm a computer guy, right? In 1979, I graduated university. Here we go, some input. Hi, Shamal. So, Shamal, we're talking about what would be a good statistic to judge one contest against another if you only had one stat to look at, and leads does not count. Troy says lead to sales ratio, but product value would vary. That's a very good, interesting... I'm reading ahead in the comments. That's very interesting, but if you think about it, Troy, most people are not counting sales during a contest. The primary purpose of a contest, and I had this conversation over in the UpViral group, the primary purpose of a contest is to grow your leads and eventually sales. So if you wanted to say, oh, let's see which contests run in October, and you want to decide which one is best by the end of the month, you can't be working on sales because most people aren't getting sales from a contest. They're getting leads. So 2 points for trying. I'll give you 1 ring of the bell for giving me an answer. Shamal, it's dependent on the purpose of the giveaway. Okay, yes. I mean, again, if we're assuming the giveaway is primarily just to generate leads, we're not talking about sales. So whether the purpose is, what the niche is, hopefully should matter. I mean, if we can find a stat, and I have 1 or 2 in mind, but I don't want to just splurt them out because I want to see what you guys say. I want you to be creative. But if we go into a pure stat that has nothing to do with leads, the total number of leads. Stop it. Yes. Obviously, sales would be the metric. But again, that's just like leads, because if I had a $5,000 product and I make 1 sale, and Betty Lou has a $5 product and she makes 50 sales. Which one's better? Okay, so sales is not the answer. Mine are never just lead generating. I go for a sale right off and scoop up the gravy later. Okay, yes. But if we're only talking about leads, see, you guys, I understand the desire for sales. The purpose of most campaigns for contests is leads to add to your email address, your email list. Shmal says, however, I want more leads, especially referrals. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So what statistic could you use that would rate contest A versus contest B if you only had one statistic? I'm going to take a sip while you think about it. And this is fun. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. I'm enjoying it. I don't know if you're enjoying it. To compare contests against each other, referrals over direct leads ratio would be a good metric. Aha! That's one of the ones that I came up with. It's not dependent on the offer, actually. So Shamal says it's dependent on the offer. Everything is dependent on the offer. Number of leads and all that stuff is true. Troy says referral to leads ratio. You mean by that you mean referral to direct leads ratio, which basically is the same thing that Shamal said. Referral to leads. And that's a metric that nobody looks at right now. None of the tools generate that number that I'm aware of. Wilco has his compound rate, and Viper has a viral ratio of some kind. So Troy says yes, the same thing. Shamal says, I've seen higher referrals with some generic offers, while lower referral leads with some laser targeted offers. So, yeah, I can see that would be true, but if you were looking for one particular, the only other thing that I have come up, I'm laughing at Troy's comment. The only other thing that I've really come up with is the conversion rate, which is a big deal for many people. And that's not sales, that's just leads, right? Troy says someone has a spreadsheet. My whole intent, yes, I do. Troy McDonald wins the prize for guessing what I've been working on so much lately. But one of the things in the spreadsheet that I've been looking at is that ratio of referred leads to direct leads. And why is that important? Because gold is the referred leads, right? If you think about it, the gold is in the referred leads. You can go buy direct leads all day long with Facebook ads, as much money as you pump into getting people there. And that's not to say direct leads are bad, because they may be brand new people to you, right? But referred leads are people that somebody else brought to you, and they're basically free. So if you paid for direct leads, the referred leads are excluding the cost of the prizes and whatever fees you're paying for stuff. CVR cannot be compared against each other. Contests cannot. CVR, you're going to have to, I'm sorry, spell out what CVR stands for. It depends upon the offer and the copy. Well, everything depends upon the copy, right? That's what copywriters will tell you. Troy said, yeah, it's called the viral coefficient. I think that's Viper's word, isn't it? As opposed to Wilco's. Although he uses the same, I don't know. CVR cannot be compared against other contests, I think. CVR. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Compound. Viral. What does CVR stand for, Shmuel? Compound versus direct versus referred, that would be D. CVR is conversion rate. Oh, okay. Conversion rate cannot be compared against each other's contests. Well, you can. I mean, it's like I can compare total leads. I mean, I can compare. It depends upon the offer and the copy, of course. But, and you'll say that it depends upon the product value, and it depends upon the offer. But I think over time, especially if you're doing multiple campaigns, you can be much better at converting people because if you learn certain things like copy and having the right social message and the right sharing message and all those kind of things add up. And you could theoretically compare conversion rates. It's imperfect. All of these are imperfect. There is no perfect answer to this. I mean, even the ratio of referred to direct is not a perfect number. It's just a way of looking at a particular campaign to see if it worked the way you wanted it to. And Shamal says referred leads to direct leads would be more fair. I'm not sure that I can get to the more fair aspect of it. Because I think the direct to referred has a lot to do with the offer and with the copy and everything else. I mean, if you think about it, many contests don't get many referrals because they don't create a lead page or landing page that the people that are cold traffic coming in will convert. And therefore, the direct to referred ratio is going to suck because if the referred people don't convert because you got bad copy and a bad offer. So I mean, I can kind of suggest that those both ratios that you're talking about there are potentially equally as bad, or challenge. I shouldn't say bad, but challenging. They're better than total leads. I think we can all agree that total leads or total views or any of those metrics are useless. How about referral conversion rate versus direct? I think that's an interesting metric too. Hadn't really thought about that one. See, that's why I talk about these things. To get your feedback. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about figuring out who's cheating and who's not. Because I'm having a real problem with one campaign that I can't figure out if this guy's cheating or not. That's a whole big hairy ass topic. So one of the reasons why I like the ratio of referred to direct leads is that you're kind of comparing conversions, right? They have to be leads. We're not talking about traffic coming in, we're talking about actual conversions. We're not talking about the conversion rate. But it also, I think, gets people thinking in a different way. If we propose that as the metric to be used for this contest of contests for October, because typically the people that I talk to, partially because it's not in front of them, because they don't have the spreadsheet and UpViral's not showing it to them face to their face, they don't think about how important those referred leads are. They end up thinking about total conversion or total leads. And in my mind, the campaigns, of course, that I think work better have that ratio of one or more, as opposed to more direct. And I know, Troy, you said the viral coefficient. I'd have to go back and look at the way Viper calculates that. I don't know if it's direct versus to over referrals, but I know UpViral does not convert it that way. Although Wilco talks about this viral coefficient, the actual calculation there is direct leads, direct visits over I've forgotten. But it's not calculated as just referred and direct leads as that ratio. It's this mystical thing, and I don't think it really tells anybody anything because I don't understand where the data comes from. And that's what drives me crazy about that. So I haven't actually I haven't done a ratio of referred conversion versus direct conversion, but I mean, if you're talking about 30% and 40%, then you will get a ratio. But that ratio is sort of based on the amount of traffic that comes in. I don't know, it's interesting. I still am kind of leaning towards the ratio of direct to... Basically, Troy says, when you get the average of each person referring one or more, the better over one is virality. Yes. Absolutely. Very few people actually accomplish that. I would love for UpViral to calculate that number and for them to tell us for all the campaign, although they'll never do it. Why will they never do it? So if they actually reported that number, this ratio of direct referrals, then odds are most people are going to see that it's going to be under 1, meaning their campaign didn't really go viral, and therefore that's probably why it's not in there now. Because the vast majority of campaigns that I've run have not gone quote-unquote viral. Exactly. Troy says, scared to find out people seeing how poorly their campaigns actually do. Now, the other side of that, the word poorly, and I agree with you that that's kind of what the impression would be. I mean, I hadn't really thought about this that hard in relation to why they don't show it. But I bet that's right. Because the vast majority of campaigns that I've run and I go back and look at my data, obviously. But I can guarantee you that the vast majority of my campaigns, that ratio would not be over 1. And theoretically, if I'm quote unquote the expert, I don't know that I want to claim that title, because I know people like Troy, when they run a campaign, or Shamal, they're doing great stuff and they're doing things differently than I do them. So I don't know that I'm the king, although I'm doing more teaching than anybody, but that doesn't make me the king. I still have a hell of a lot to learn. But here you go. It can be successful without being viral. But viral is the holy grail. Thank you, Troy. Another ring of the bell for you. We have lots of successful campaigns. Very few of them go viral. But when people listen to the marketing of Viper and viral loops and up viral, viral's in the word, right? For most of them. And they talk about going viral. And realistically, you can go viral. To me, viral means more of self-sustaining necessarily than a ratio of direct to referred. I really got Shamal thinking. Now, how about this? Referral conversion over direct version conversion times the referral leads. See? I don't know. I'd have to play with those numbers and see how that works. But I think that's a very potential number. The higher the number, the better the campaign is. And this is a great conversation. All of this came about, if you go back to the beginning of this video, because I was watching a sailing video. I was distracted this morning watching a sailing video and thought to myself, how does this apply to me? One of the things I did this afternoon was that I did a review of the campaign I did for Fuji. And I told them in the video that I recorded that I'm really trying to find a number, single number that kind of evaluates how well a campaign did. And maybe, Shamal, maybe that's a good number. I'm going to have to put that one in the mashing machine and mangle that one up. But I kind of like that. Because that's taking your virality, if you're looking at refer to direct, and it's taking your conversion rates. We're going to have to look at that. Thank you for that. Ding, 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 ring the bell. Yes, that formula takes the conversion rates and the leads into consideration. I like that. I know we just got on this conversation, but I have to actually put some real numbers through there to figure out. And it's easy to do. I've got plenty of campaigns data to run through there. Troy says, by the way, if you didn't see it, Shamal, go Shamal. Love it. And both of those fit. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, although I have to see what the numbers turn out to be. So that was the referral over direct conversion rates. You can also add the referral visitors divided by direct visitors ratio. I kind of want to stay away from visits. Because I've always thought of visits as a vanity metric. Although, if you're working for a client, the clients certainly like to see how much exposure they got, right? Now, maybe there's an exposure calculation that's different than the results. Because if you're looking at the visits, as you just mentioned, Shamal, I would also kind of want to include the social sharing. Right? So if you had visits, if you have visits, then don't you also want to know how much sharing happened? Maybe there's a ratio there. Troy. Uneducated clients like vanity metrics. It's so freaking true, because I have 2 clients that tell me they don't want me to trim my dead wood out of my email list because they like to go to their boss and say, well, Mitch has 50,000 people on his list, even though I know only 20,000 people open. I want to trim out all that dead wood, but they're like, oh, the bigger number, it makes it easier to get my boss to pay you for your contest. Yes, but it doesn't help if I'm giving them people that are basically dead to me. If I can't ever reach them, then they're useless. Why would I tell anybody those numbers? But they want to hear those numbers, and they don't want me to delete any deadwood. But I'm going to do it. Because what I'm learning is that kind of sometimes hurts your delivery rates. Etc., etc., etc. Uneducated clients like vanity metrics. I like that one. So this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you guys popping in and talking about this. Because, I mean, realistically, if that number works, or something similar to that, if you could apply a single number to a campaign and say, bingo, that one was better than this one, because it goes back to, I don't know how much of the conversation you guys heard from yesterday. The 2 campaigns. Let me see if I can bring it up. Do I have numbers open? I do. So if I switch to here, let's see. All right, so there's no comment showing. So these are the 2 campaigns for Fuji, side by side. Now the first, they're virtually identical. Prizes, the 3 prizes were identical. But we threw in a referral campaign, and if you got 20 or more referred leads, then you got a $149 camera bag. So a significant reward for bringing in 20 people. But if you look like at this number right, these 3 charts, these 2 campaigns, so this is the first one on the left, May, second one in August, the number of people that had 1 referral, that percentage went down. That the overall number went down, even though we had more leads between the 2 campaigns. If I go to the first tab and come up here, you see that we had a little over 8,000 leads in the first campaign. We had 8,600 in the second campaign. So we brought in more leads, but the sharing was lower, and we brought in for fewer referrals, even though there was a bigger bonus prize. And we talked about that yesterday on the call. We talked about how some of that probably caused people. Troy says, I watched the videos on YouTube. Thank you, from yesterday. But some of the people said, well, if the only bonus prize is dangling in front of me this $149 bag, well, that kind of scares me off because I'm not going to get the 20 referrals. So I obviously didn't do that part of the campaign very well. Cost per lead went up. The percentage not sharing went up. The referred leads went up, which is interesting. This metric right here The ratio of referred to direct went up. The conversion went up across the board, but yet the sharing went down. So obviously, and so what I'm really trying to say is, I mean, even in this particular instance, they're two virtually identical campaigns except for that referral. And so if I can look at that number, the equation that Shamal came up with, and apply it to these two campaigns, and come up with a number, and maybe, I mean, again, the leads went up, the referrals went up, but yet our sharing went down. So I don't know whether that formula is what that's going to do. I have to actually see numbers. I can't just look at it as an equation and go, oh, that's a brilliant equation. That's going to work great. But it's kind of would be really nice to have some metrics, a single or maybe a couple of metrics, as opposed to all of these that I've got on this page, because it can get kind of confusing when you look at all these different things. But again, like I said before, I believe having more data, more visual data, like this spreadsheet, is better than what we get out of the tools. Viper's tools metrics are not that exciting. I've looked at viral loops. I've looked at the frog one. What's it called? Wasn't that you, Troy, that was using that? Perkzilla. But they're new. Troy asked, did either of the campaigns offer a gift to the person that referred the winner? Yes. All right, so let me jump back over to Up Viral and share the screen. Up Viral. And let me get your question off. That's not... where did that screen go? Up Viral. Not in that campaign, but let's go to the dashboard in Fuji, just so you see. Set up, lead capture, preview. Shamal says we need to have an objective-based formula, and that could be true. Most people are going after more leads. Yes, they are, and that is a good metric, but I also like to be able to compare campaign to campaign, A to B, split test, to be able to say, well, I think this one worked better. Even though we got more leads out of that, I don't think the sharing side of it worked very well. So, to answer your question, Troy, this is what they were presented. 3 chances to win. The first random draw prize was the T30 XT30 mirrorless camera with the lens in black. The second was a referred prize to the person who referred the first one, and they get the same camera in silver. So, yes, we were trying to increase sharing via that methodology. We also did the most prize entry for the person with the most points at the end, and that's where the cheating happened. That I haven't totally resolved yet. And then we had the bonus for referring 20 people to this campaign and having them sign up. You got a $149 Domke bag. And we had 16 people legitimately earn that. We had 3 people cheat on that one as well. So, that hopefully answers your question, right? So, in terms of these sharing numbers, that's where we were. I need to get rid of you, sorry. That's where we were. And I still thought that we had decent sharing in the first campaign, but we actually had less sharing in the second one. with what I thought was going to be more incentive. But I believe that in reality, because of the number 20, people went, I'm not going to make that, so I'm not going to even try. And so we had less sharing. So our goal, and bless their heart, Fuji came up with that idea and said, well, if it doesn't work, we won't do it next time. And I kind of was worried that that bag was too big of an objective. I wonder how many people miss the they win too if their friend wins, because a lot of people won't refer normally because they want to keep their chances of winning higher. Yes. And that's, frankly, I still struggle with that, Troy, as you can tell, because I'm not quite sure yet the right way of presenting that. I mean, if you look at that landing page, there's a lot of information on the landing page. And it's worded differently than I would have done it, but the client made some specific copy that they insisted on having in that section about the prize definitions. I don't know whether they're right or wrong, but I tend to think that it's way too wordy. And people don't understand the they win 2-bit. So the only way to find out about that would be for me to survey people that entered the campaign and see if they understood it, which I have not done. I have actually thought about that. Troy says clients. Yes. I love these guys. But they're corporate, right? It's not like working with Troy or Shamal. They're corporate. And Fujifilm, and we're dealing with the USA division of Fujifilm, not the Japanese division, which is the mothership. But they definitely have corporate ideas and corporate ways of doing things. And that's not bad. I'm not saying it's wrong. But it is difficult sometimes. Surveying is a great idea, yeah. And I have done that in the past, but I have not done that for recently and for this one. I did get some feedback yesterday on my live, which I thought was very good. And one person private messaged me later giving me feedback, which I thought was very important, and basically said kind of the same thing, that it was too much work, and so that would encourage less sharing, in her opinion, than just some of the stuff we normally do. Troy, you're funny. About the corporate stuff, you don't need to say it as bad. I will say it for you. Bad. I was in corporate for 32 years, so I know how corporate works. And every corporation's different. It's not bad, it's just very different. It's not as lean and mean and quick to move as what you and I would be. So, there is that. So if anybody's tuning in, by the way, and if you happen to be interested in that spreadsheet, if you go to giveawayrocket.com/store, you will find the spreadsheet available for purchase right there. There's a plug. That's not the right one. There's my plug for my own tool. If you're running a campaign, I think it's very important to know data. And speaking of that, the video that I was talking about way early, if you happen to see the beginning of this long-winded treatise isn't the right word, exploration of statistics, the video from Russell Coates, who is the sailing guy, talking about Oracle and how they've totally changed the way sailing works because they're looking at data. And the other thing about these 6 boats in the SailGP is they're all sharing data. So not only is it not about the boats, it's not about the data, it's about the people and how the people use the data. And that's why I've become more, over time, I mean, I was a data processing guy, a computer guy. We always looked at data. But the more I've looked at data inside these campaigns, the more stuff I've learned. Troy, thank you. As well as other good freebies at that same URL. Thanks for the plug, Troy. Yes, that and I really want to stop using the word store and call it resources, because that's what it is. There are things that you can purchase, but primarily I want people to go there and to start going there because that's where I'm going to be putting all the things that I can think of, that because there is so much stuff that I have. I've put together a list of all the stuff that I have, and I even keep thinking of things that I have but I don't really have on my list. Troy said I went to the YouTube channel. There are people that don't know that I got a YouTube channel. And my YouTube channel, frankly, sucks because I have not gone back and keyworded everything. So I use a tool like, right now I'm using Ecamm to broadcast this. And when you push finish, it says, hey, do you want to upload that to YouTube? So I do. And I put in a title and I put in a little description, but it doesn't give me all the keywords and all that other stuff that you have on YouTube. You have to actually go over there. So stuff gets dumped up onto YouTube, but people don't watch it because I don't have a stink load of subscribers up there. So if anybody wants to go volunteer to keyword and all my videos, I'm kidding. But that's something that's on my list of something that really should be done, because I know there are people out there searching for stuff about UpViral. And there's not like a links to everything, and I don't say at the end, hey, make sure to subscribe and click the button below or over there or ring the bell and all the stuff that YouTubers do, because this isn't up on and so Troy says, sure, thanks a lot, Troy. I catch up with you via YouTube mostly. So Troy's the one guy that's paying attention to me over in YouTube, which makes me feel inadequate because I'm not doing enough with my YouTube channel. And there's people like Troy that are paying attention to me over there. And I'm not doing enough with it. That's where I need an army of people to manage all of this stuff. Because even building, for example, the store, the resources page, I have to do all that stuff manually. It's just me. I need an army of people to help me. And when I've asked for volunteers, of course, that goes over like a lead balloon, and I don't blame you. Way to go, Troy says I subscribe. Troy gets the bell for subscribing. Once UpViral added the rewards based on referrals feature. Yes, they haven't done that yet. As far as I know, metrics will be changed for the better. And bless your heart, Troy, I can help you, he says. Bless your heart. Has UpViral added that yet? Did anybody notice? I know there's one thing that they've added. Let me go into UpViral. Let's go play for a second. Let's go to rewards. Let's add a reward. No, they haven't added anything here. Bless their hearts, I am not complaining, although I really, really wish things moved a little faster. And I am not in their development kits. I don't know what they're working on. But we've been talking about this for a long time, and I really wish they moved faster than a glacier. But if you go into points, I discovered this. If you go into custom actions and you do edit, we're going to look at this one, for example. Has anybody noticed this? Add multiple choice answers and select which one is correct. You can now do multiple choice answers. So if you click this, you can put yes, and you can add another one, and you can put no, and you can put a checkbox as to which one is correct. I haven't checked. Can you do both? No. So you can only pick one. Now, if you ever look at Viper, Viper has an insane amount of different selections here. What do you mean I'm not sure? Oh, shit. Sorry. Pardon me. I thought I was. I pushed the button. I apologize. Thank you, Troy, for letting me know. And that's not the right thing to make that go away. Alright, so here I am on points. If I click on edit for a custom action, you've seen the screen now, right? So there is this add multiple choice answers and select which one is correct. So you can add multiple answers by clicking over here, and you can check which one is correct. And if you save that, then they have a drop-down choice. I don't know, can I just do this? Will it work? Oh, look, it does. Well, you still have to click the thing, go there, and then you can do select. So you do yes or no. Shamal asks, does up arrow give points based on the right choice? The answer is yes, and I tested this. Since that was a live campaign, I'm not going to save this. It's not active, but I use this as an example, so I'm not going to save these changes. I haven't done it on a test campaign yet. But anyway, up arrow will give the points on the correct answer, but they don't tell you if you answered incorrectly. I'm not sure that it is working the way I would have designed it as a software developer. They don't always ask me for my feedback. I was asked to test this, but they already had it in production. So it didn't do, other than I gave them feedback that I don't know that I like the way that it works. And I'd have to go back and look at the way Viper works. But, I mean, if they don't answer correctly, the dialog box just goes away. They get no feedback whether they did it answered correctly or incorrectly, unless they happen to look at their points and realize that the points are different than it was before. And I don't think, as a software developer in my past, that that's the right way of doing it. I think you need to tell them whether they got the answer. So Shamal asks, I heard UpViral will introduce a conversion pixel to verify custom actions. That would be awesome. I don't know how that would work. I would love to see anything happen in this regard. And that's my editorial comment. I know other developing... I know they've hired a bunch of developers. I know they're working on stuff. They're fixing bugs. I know some other developers are working on the Connectio products. But it would be great to have the ability to verify data. And that drop-down is one action to make that happen. I know, like I said, I know Viper has a whole bunch of different options for multiple choice, and let them know if they got the right choice. Let them, there's a whole bunch of different things. Viper's ahead on that particular one. Now, if UpViral can trump them, that would be great. But I don't know about that, Shamal. They haven't told me about that. I've had virtually no communication with them for quite a while, which is frustrating, but that's me personally. You place the pixel on the thank you page, and UpViral will verify custom actions. For example, completing a survey and put the pixel on the success page. Cool. Love it. Let's have it right now. Before Black Friday and all the big campaigns that are starting up. I know they talked about an agency license. They talked about that in February, saying it was coming soon, and it's now October. And I am not being critical. I'm just, from a user perspective, wishing for more stuff. You know, we like Christmas presents. We like new toys. So, this has been very good. I really appreciate the help you guys are giving me. Enjoy having this conversation. Even though it's only me talking, it's kind of fun. If you have anything else, I kind of want to wrap up because it's getting late here. Troy, I will try to remember to see what we can chat about. I've loved you for a long time, so I'd be interested to see what you can do on the YouTube side if you got some clues for me. What I really need to do is just hire some people. It's not a new toy that we really need as... It's what we really need as marketers. You're right. It's not a toy. Do not try this at home, children. I know they're working on really great stuff over there in UpViral land. When I have talked to Mark or Wilco, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, it's not a bragging thing, but I have been frustrated by that rewards system for 2 years now. Especially after they put in the custom actions, it's now even harder to try to figure out what points to do. And I remember having a conversation with Mark about that in December or January or some time frame or earlier. And Mark was like, oh, I finally understand. I mean, it's been in the queue for 2 years, in the request queue. And nobody really understood it, I guess. And so... there's so many things that I wish we could have. The custom tracking came from my request. Again, not tooting my horn. Okay, I am. But the custom tracking has been a phenomenal resource. I mean, I'm using that data inside the spreadsheet like crazy. Thank you, Troy. You deserve congratulations because you've been on their heels. I don't push hard enough, frankly, because I don't want to get them angry. But I certainly wish there was more activity in the UpArrow group. It's kind of a dead place over there right now. I keep pushing to try to get more activity there, which is why I brought up the idea of this contest of contests. Just trying to get people active. I know they're busy. The problem is we don't always see the busy on our side. I would love them to put me out of business with this spreadsheet thing too, but I don't see them making time to do that. Shamal, you're very kind. You helped UpViral to be where it is today. We are all thankful. You're welcome. It's pure selfishness. I mean, yes, I push them, and it's because I want to be able to do more stuff with this tool. And I want to be able to help people. I mean, that's the entire purpose of this, right? Is to help people run their businesses better so they can have more sales. We all want more sales. That's the whole point. I keep thinking about the conversation I had with the gentleman in the Up Viral group today. If you happen to see it, it's buried in the Contest of Contests comments. And he was very hyper about... shouldn't say hyper. He was very adamant about the example of the Bunkie campaign. I said, well, the Bunkie guys, Dave and crew, are very excited about the results of their contest. And I apologize, I can't come up with his name. I didn't memorize his name. A newish guy. And he says, well, if you think about it, they got 36,000 leads and they had 75 sales if you calculate the math based on total sales. So that's like a conversion rate of a sales conversion rate of 0.2%. It's not even 1% of the people that they got on their leads. Like, yes, but David and the crew over at Bunkie headquarters, they're ecstatic. And those sales came immediately after. We're not looking at the sales they've had since then. I don't know what their sale numbers are after that. But I know they're very active. I watched their threads, their Facebook page, and they got a lot of people really excited about Bunkies. And maybe they didn't buy this year, but maybe they're going to buy next year. And the gentleman in the Up Viral group is like, well, no, I want sales now. I don't want to count them in the future. And I'm like, yes, I understand. But the two contests that David has done for the Bunkie campaign have built his business. And he will tell you, and I've talked to him about it, the first campaign that he did with another tool is the only thing that started his business. He offered a Bunkie last year. And the campaign did so well, I think they sold 12 units last year, which isn't big unit numbers. It was enough to get him off to actually build his business and feel like it could be a success. I think they added 15,000 people to their email list. I've forgotten the exact numbers, but I know they've sold 12. I think that's what it was. And their profit margin isn't that huge. It's not like they're incredibly rich after that. But you can't discount the fact that they've built their business on two contests. That was their basis for building their business. I think that's pretty superlative. And yes, you can say, well, their sales was only 0.2% of their leads that came in. Well, that's just one metric. That's just one number to look at. It's not like looking at everything. And, bless your heart, success of contests is proportionate to the offer and the quality of marketing. Amen, sister. Amen. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Absolutely true. Because if you look at, I watched David in the Bunkie campaign because I helped him do some of the work. And I watched what they did. And their audience was raving excited. Which is this guy that I was talking to in the Up Viral group didn't understand. He's looking only at the metrics after the fact. It's like looking at a football game stats with baseball game stats. Doesn't do you any good after the fact. Watching the games where the excitement comes. I said I was going to stop talking. But it comes down to that offer. I had another client that when he first came to me, he said, I just finished reading the Bunkie case study that the FRR guys did, and I want to do exactly that, Mitch. I want to do that, and I want to have that kind of success in my business. He failed because he did not have the quality of marketing. He did not have the same excitement level that David did. He did not do... I begged him to do Facebook Lives to his audience. He did one. Like, the whole point, part of the success that David did was he got on and he got people excited. He got people really raving about this and got them thinking about what they could do with their bunkie and blah, 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 blah. David worked his ass off. And if you don't do that, you can't. We structured the campaign like the bunkie campaign. We did all of that. But if you don't have the enthusiasm and the chutzpah to get on and do the Facebook Lives because you're shy, then you're not going to have the success. And he's had 0 sales after that. And I'm frustrated because I really wanted him to have success. But once the dust hit the road, he didn't perform his side. Troy says, the offer plus the initial seed audience equals success. Yes, David, the bunkie guy, had a really good seed audience. And he had the enthusiasm to push it through. This other campaign did not have a big seed audience and did not have enthusiasm. So, anyway. Thank you for tuning in. I'm going to sign off now. I know it is late for me and it's bedtime. I do much better if I get the right amount of sleep. And if I don't go to bed on time, I don't get the right amount of sleep. Tomorrow's another day. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for talking with me and helping me figure out this brand new way of calculating a statistic. I'm going to play with that tomorrow or whenever I get the chance. Really appreciate you guys' support. And if anybody has any questions, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And then hit the bell so you get notified of new videos. That's how they do it, right? I've been on YouTube before. But thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Shmal, have a good day over there in Sri Lanka. Troy, have a good night. And we will talk to you again tomorrow.